Look, fourth quarter, 4 downs with 4 seconds. Coach put me on that field cause you know that I'm gon' get it. Been waiting my whole life for that moment to go. It take power, mind, and muscle. So welcome to the show.
So here we are, we're at Save On Fitness in Carlton Place. We're with a good friend, Iain.
Yep, excited to be here.
And we're just excited. We're gonna get after it today. We're gonna get a chest workout in. And after that, later, we're gonna sit down and have some coffee and talk about mental health.
Yeah, so this is a spot that I used to train at a lot when I was competing in pro bodybuilding. It's a good spot out here in Carlton Place. It's quiet, really good equipment. So I haven't done like real bodybuilding workouts in a minute. So this is gonna be fun to see if I can still keep up with the guys here. And if I can put Nick through a little bit of torch as well in the meantime, make me feel good about myself as well. So we'll be talking about a different kind of mental health at the end of the workout here after crush you mentally in this. So good, I'm excited. Let's get into it. We'll probably start with some kind of fly to kind of warm everything up and then get into some pressing. So we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Beauty.
Let's get it. Okay, where are you setting this at?
4, we'll put it 2.
We'll put it 4. Okay. I told Chad, I was like, listen, man, I texted Iain, I said, he's gonna put me through the ringer, bro. I told him to fucking try and break me.
Well, I can do that, trust me.
Now, when you're doing your warm-up sets, how many reps are you going for?
Not very much, man, honestly. Like, you can stop there for sure. We'll just keep going up progressively until we get to a weight. Like, a saying that you'll hear in guys, especially in the track world too, is like, don't win the warm-up, you know? Like, you're not trying to win the warm-up. Like, it's just literally to warm you up. And I think especially in like training for hypertrophy, like bodybuilding style training, or strength training even more so, do as minimal volume of warm-up as you need to be warmed up, but so that you're not causing any fatigue to the muscle. So like if you can get like, once you say we did 10 reps there, that's very light. The next one we want to do like 6 reps and then like 4 reps and then like 2 reps and we're getting close to the top set, then we'll work. So we're doing as minimal volume before the working set, so there's like no level of fatigue. Gotcha. So the first set we can get like absolutely as maximal as we can out of it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice. No, this is a good spot. These Arsenal ones are nice. This is a squat machine, 200 to 300 grams of meat, so like they're big meals,
Oh,
so
enough.
For 15 years straight.
Yeah. Not for a couple weeks.
For like a couple days.
Well, that's what you got to do, man. It's commitments. Fucking, if you want to be the best, you have to do what it requires.
I was 300 pounds for like 15 years, man. I'm over it. Like, and the thing is too, like, I'm never going to be as strong or as big as I once was. So there's no point like trying to hold on to a little bit of it. It's like, look, I'm never going to deadlift 900 pounds or bench press 600 pounds again. Like, I don't have any interest. So it's like, if I'm not going to be as better than I was, I don't care to be like 3/4 as good. It's like, it means nothing to me.
That
so
makes a lot of sense for sure.
So I've let go of that for now for sure. Like, just want to do some other stuff.
That's like my take on a lot of this is I don't necessarily want to be like the biggest guy. I don't want to be able to like have to walk sideways through doors. Like I don't care as much for that. For me, I'm focusing on just trying to be as strong as I can and as lean as I can.
Yeah,
that's what I am most interested in,
All right, we're just gonna do 1 1/4 here. So you'll do first full rep, come down, stretch, quarter of the way up, back down. That's 1. Okay. You're gonna do 1 1/4 like that. Okay. So we won't need much. Definitely after what we've been doing here. So, okay. 1 set. We'll crank this one right to failure, and we're good. Come on. I don't need a hit, no lick, so hot, no candle. And I ain't got dick for the trick, TikTok, so hot, Orlando. Don't send no more shots.
That's it.
These bitches on swole. She said she little, she talking that shit. I'm about to put shit in her nose. She want my dick in the throat. And I ain't gonna stop till I get it, bitch. I tell her finish, it's ready in the stove.
She going stupid. She shaking her ass back and forth. Look, I don't want no drugs, cause I used to abuse them. These hoes so indecisive, she don't know what she want and she picking and choosing. You won't go back to your ex cause he ain't got no checking in.
Why you hating, dog? I don't get it.
No money,
no credit.
2 more.
Let's go. Come on. That's all you.
Yeah.
Was it 30 minutes in your breath?
Yeah, no, it's not bad. You guys are in Canada? Or where are you?
No
Yeah.
And I ain't got dick for the trick, TikTok shit gets so hot, Orlando. Don't send no more shots on Mango.
Oh, that's too high. I need a different bench. Yeah, we're gonna have to use one of the thinner ones, unfortunately. This is too high. I don't want to press quite this high, but we'll swap this one out. No, this is just the warm up. So like, I'm just gonna work up. So like I said, reps 3, 4, 5, whatever. Just get a feel so we don't do 8 crazy big jumps. And then we'll get like a working set, like in the 8 to 10 range. So whatever you think is 8 to 10, stop at that weight. That's good. 3.
There you go, Chad.
There we go.
5.
Say what? 8. Good. Deep. There we go. Oh, 9. Come on. All the way up. Good. Good.
Yeah, baby. Let's go. Oh.
Oh, there we go. Let's go. Wow. Good. Right up. Wow. Don't rush. 5. Good. 6. Good. Look at that. Woo!
Starting to feel it though, Charlie. You feel strong? Yeah. Yeah. He said, yeah. How much did you eat? A bunch. He's like, what did you say to me yesterday? You're like, we're training tomorrow with Iain. He's like, all I'm doing is eating and I'm going into a hyperbolic chamber. He's like,
Get the red blood cells cranked up. We're good to go.
Coming in there like a Super Saiyan. I'm like, okay.
What do we got here?
And then there's me over here. I've had like 6 eggs.
I probably haven't eaten much more than you, man.
Yeah.
I don't really eat much anymore, that's for sure.
I was scared.
How'd those 105s feel? 115? Yeah, you need it there. All right. Full range like that every rep. Let's go. There we go. I know I'm not going to do 12 again with 130s if I went 100%. Like, really, there should be a drop-off. So then the second set, I'm like, okay, 115, 120, I'd probably be in that range, which I was. So, and he was right. He could have, 105, 110, 110 would have been right. You did 110s last set? So yeah, you could try the 120s, bang out a couple if you want.
Baby.
Which is good. Come on. There we go, Chatty.
Let's go, big guy.
Come on. You got another one. Let's go. Let's go. Another one. Come on. One more. Let's go. Hips down. Let's go. Up. Finish it. Good. Good set. There you go. Dumping.
Thanks.
Yeah, good set.
Okay, give me those wrist wraps, buddy.
We're done here, though. We'll move
Are
on.
we done here?
Yeah, just 2 here is good. Get right down, get the stretch. There you go. Amino acids, and then I got like 25 grams of carbs and some electrolytes in there. It's a little blend of everything.
And that's your go-to sip on while you're training?
Yeah, generally. EAAs always. The carbs I'll kind of take in and out depending. Like if I'm prepping for a show, let's say like I'm trying to get really lean, there might be a point where I cut those out. Obviously like now I'm not doing like any crazy training like this, like bodybuilding training. So like for today I threw in a little bit, keep me fueled up for it. And electrolytes, yeah, I'll generally put in. Depends how much water I've drank that day. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, let's go. Good. 2, don't rush. 3, let's go, 2 more. Another one, I got you. Shoulders down, let's go. Up, finish it, come on. Good, hold, 5 seconds down. 4, 3, 2, 1, good. Good set. Ooh.
Power, mind, and muscle, baby. This is how we do it. Every fucking day. Get after it, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
A lot of people, when I post videos, be like, oh my God, that's so scary. It never felt that way for me.
Yeah.
But like sometimes people get in your head like, shit, maybe if I dump 600 pounds, I'd really fucking hurt myself, you know? 2, 1, stretch. 1, 2, 3, up. There you go. Let's go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Round. Finish. One more. Let's go. 6. Resist. 5. Resist. 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 Good. Hold. 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 Go up. Push it. Push it. Push it. Good. Get set. Yeah, you can see videos of me like squatting here. I used to squat on the Smith machine a lot. I like was one of my favorite ways to squat when I was bodybuilding. And because I couldn't hold the thing, so I'd have my buddy that would stand behind me the whole time the Smith machine, keeping it rolled back because it wants to re-rack itself, you know? Yeah. So I'm just thinking he just stands behind me and keeps it rolled back the whole time. You can't fucking reach the damn thing, you know?
I mean, I noticed you use that a lot, eh?
It was like for pressing and like incline pressing, flat pressing, and for squats, it was like where I did, especially the last like 3-4 years, I was convening like 90% of my stuff was in it. Yeah. Especially for squats. Like if you have a really good hack squat, I'd probably opt for it more. I don't love the arsenal that I have here, so it depends where you are.
Right.
But some of them are really good if they're steep, like some of the old Cybex ones. If not, because like with a barbell squat, it's hard to keep the weight like so centered above yourself. Where like if you're doing with the Smith machine, you can have the weight and keep your feet under your body. So when you're dropping like right into it here, you know? So like you can make it so it's like so much more quad because like you're so much more knee flexion. Right. Versus like if you're a barbell and you kind of have to like come forward a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's more through the hip, you're getting more glute in there. So if you can stay more upright and have the rail control it.
I was going to say the control.
Well, yeah, and then you can just maximize the amount of like bend in your knee, and more knee bend is more quad. So, right.
Won't eat unless I'm with my partners. They just live in the dark, I be dying to live. Shawty asked me if I miss, I said probably a bit. I just party and sip.
Look at that depth. Woo! Up!
Woo! Stretch. 1, 2, 3. Good. Whoa. Oh. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2.
So that's it today for Power, Mind, and Muscle with Coach and Ian. I want to thank you for putting us through the ringer.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a good time.
And I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to film this for a week.
I probably will be too, man. I haven't done any workouts like this in a while, so it's fun to, relive a bit of like, it sounds like my good old days, but it's like it was just like a year ago or something. But I haven't done this kind of stuff in a while, so it was good. It was, it was fun to get a good kind of pump like that, do some chest stuff, and, push you guys through it as well. It was fun. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two in the process as well. So I really enjoyed myself and look forward to it.
I'm happy little brother made it out too. He's got a sweat on.
Yeah. No, both you guys killed it. So they both trained hard, and, form was perfect and everything was good. So I was really happy. It was a good session. So
thank you.
Awesome, man. All right.
Okay.
Let her rip.
So welcome to Power, Mind, and Muscle. My name and host is Nick Coach Geramonte. And today I have sitting across from me the Canadian all-time award-winning IFBB pro bodybuilder, Iain Valliere.
Well, I'll take that.
Yeah,
that's the top line of my Instagram handle too, is most winning Canadian pro bodybuilders.
Yeah.
That's how I'd introduce myself, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah. And then sprinter.
And sprint. Wannabe sprinter.
Wannabe sprinter. That's right.
I can't make the claim that I'm actually one yet, so I gotta put the wannabe in case some real sprinters follow me and they're like, there's no way this guy's a freaking sprinter.
No.
Bodybuilder, not a wannabe sprinter.
But I've seen you go. I mean, I've seen the T-table.
It's getting better, obviously it's from 15 years of pro bodybuilding. I had a body that was completely designed and engineered to do everything but run fast.
Right.
So it's been a process, and just from like a structural standpoint, like your tendons and your ligaments, just to handle that load of moving your weight. It's a very different kind of tension. Like squatting 800 pounds down is one kind of tension, but then when you're taking 250 pounds, putting your weight up and down, it's actually a lot more tension than just squatting static weight,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely been an adjustment, but I'm in it for the long haul. It's something I'm doing for me. You know, it's not like, you know, I'm sure if I wanted to go post so much more social media content, bring my video camera to the track and do all this kind of stuff, there'd be a million things of content I could get from it. But, you know, sometimes you got to do these things that are like just for you. You know, this one is like just for me. It's, you know, going back to my roots, like what my first love in terms of sports was track and field, you know. And I want to really put myself into something that was one, like a good goal for like health and longevity for my life after bodybuilding, but also something that like I knew I was passionate about and that I would be like, you know, interested to really pursue and not just like in a half-assed way. You know, I've been a pro bodybuilder for 15 years. I can't do anything physical half-assed.
No, why would
I just was like, you know what? I love this. I'm going to dive into it. If it takes me 5 years to get to my goal, that's great. If it takes 10, even better, to be honest. It's one of those things that the longer that it takes to get to the goal, the better, in my opinion. So it's an exciting new road, you know, and I couldn't be picking something, unless I wanted to do Ironmans. I'm pretty much picking as far from bodybuilding as I can be getting from a physical standpoint.
You said enough with 300 pounds, enough with eating 8 times a day.
No, you know, like I did 15 years of bodybuilding. I turned pro. So I started competing in 2010. So 14 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
That was when I did my first show. I'd been preparing and training for quite a while for bodybuilding before that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd been training.
I remember meeting you for the first time years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe even 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
At O'Connor's, I think.
Like right around I graduated high school 2008. So those years, 8, 9 would have been when I'd be going out.
Yeah, it was right after that time there. And
so
I remember
like starting.
You were just starting to get into it. You were just starting to put on size.
Yeah.
Still like a little bit smaller, but
yeah.
the physique was there, the strength was there.
So, you know, 2010 did my first show. I turned pro in 2014.
So it took you 4 years from
4 years, and then I was competing as a pro for 9 years after that until 2023 and until this year. You know, and look, I love bodybuilding. It's opened so many doors for me. It's given me so many, you know, awesome opportunities in life after bodybuilding, and even during it, you know, it gave me a really great life. So I'm always thankful for it. But I'm also got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm ready to turn that chapter of the book, you know, move on to other things in my life. And, you know, obviously we'll talk about today, but my mental health was certainly suffering from bodybuilding. And you got to make that call, like, okay, this is making me a lot of money, but like, where's the weighing the pros and cons of what this is doing to my life, you know? So you get to the point where you're like, all right, you know, I think I'm ready to make this call, which isn't an easy call, but once you make it, it feels like an easy call. But yeah, we're on to the other side now. So exciting new things, right?
Doing things that prioritize your mental health obviously is very difficult for a lot of people to do.
Yeah.
Especially for men.
Yeah.
I find that men are stigmatized into paralysis. This is something that I say all the time. We don't necessarily have a lot of outlets when it comes to our mental health.
No.
So maybe can you touch on a little bit in more detail how bodybuilding was affecting your mental health negatively at the end?
Yeah. Well, it's good you said that too, because, you know, I think we talked about this too. Like, think of, you know, men as a whole. Like, look, this obviously happens with women as well, but men as a whole, I think you're women, you know, they'll go talk to their girlfriends when they're having problems. So many guys like don't even feel like they can talk to their buddies about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, with men, there's like this era, like this air of stoicism where it's like, you got to like suck it up and be a man and like, look, and I think there is times for that. But I think if you want to live honest to yourself and the best quality of life for the rest of your life, you know, you obviously need to be like, where are these feelings coming from? How do I address them? And like, how do I get the best out of this, you know? And just sucking it up. Look, when you're 2 minutes from going on stage at the Olympia, that's the time to suck it up, you know?
That's right.
But when you're like trying to fix your relationship with your wife or understand why you're having anxiety all day or why you're hacking a pack of darts every day, like this is the times when you're like, look, I need to really delve into why am I feeling this way and how can I move forward? And, you know, and in bodybuilding, you know, there was a bunch of different lives within bodybuilding, you know, because there was obviously, you know, when I started bodybuilding, there's pressures you put on yourself, but then obviously they kind of change and go through different waves of your career, you know, like once I got to the point where I start winning pro shows, now there's a lot more external pressures coming on, you know, that people are expecting you to win shows or
expectations. Exactly.
Expectations. And it's expectations, one, that you put on yourself and two, that you feel externally, you know?
Yeah.
And let's be serious. I think anyone that's been at high level sports can say you feel those external pressures, but you're creating it in your mind to be much greater than you are. It's really actually an internal pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really coming from a place of insecurity, if anything, you know, of wanting to please people that don't really matter in the sense, you know, where all that you're trying to actually please is yourself, you know, and make yourself happy in that regard, right?
I think absolutely a lot of men can relate to that, even not professional athletes.
No.
I mean, all men have that sort of external pressures, internal voice, telling them that they have to be stoic, as you said. And it just creates just an air of it's very difficult. It's very difficult for them to get their emotions out, and it rots.
Well, and I think a lot of guys, I think even with people as a whole, and men we're talking about here, but I think they're just not even aware enough of themselves to have the conversation of like, they think it's just like, life is hard, I'm stressed out, just like move forward, But like, it doesn't need to be that way. And I think there's so many things that we can do, whether it's from like talk therapy or getting into training or things that you can do that can be such a benefit to your mental health, that you don't have to just sit idly by and be like, oh, I got to just push through this, No, absolutely. There's so many things that you can do, right? So, I think men, it's like a taboo thing for them. So, I think the more that people have these kind of conversations, you can kind of break that through and like, look, you can still be the manliest man in the whole wide world, but like, if you want to be the best person you can be, you need to also be aware of who you are, why you're feeling certain things, and kind of learn how to like operate in that world, with the understanding of those feelings,
Absolutely. And that was actually how we first started on the discussion, me and you, about mental health. Was one of the posts that I had put out. I was discussing briefly about finding your why, about figuring out what it was, the driving factor as to why you're smoking cigarettes all day. Why are you smoking weed all day? Why are you drinking? Why are you doing drugs? Why are you wasting your time at the bars?
See it. Like you said, so many people will chalk it up to like, with cigarettes, like, I'm just addicted to cigarettes. But it's like, why are you addicted to cigarettes?
That's right.
Usually these things are to fill some kind of chemical void, whether it's like a dopamine or serotonin release or some kind of chemical messenger that your body's searching for. Because let's be serious, not everyone that smokes cigarettes gets addicted to cigarettes.
That's right.
Not everyone that sniffs a line of coke gets addicted to coke, or that's, there's a reason some people do and some people don't. This is a thing that people can have genetic predispositions for, but it is because, in a large part, I feel, because of their body wanting the release of something to make them feel a certain way, that they're getting somewhere else in their life, or they're not getting somewhere else in their life, that they're trying to fill with this substance.
It's a lot of masking of internal emotion, internal pain, that instant gratification, the dopamine release, right? And I find, especially in today's society, where all the emphasis is on instant gratification, it's on, if you're horny, pick up your phone, you got Pornhub right there. If you want to drink, you can go across the street to the grocery store and get a beer.
I mean, even more than that, if you want booze, you can order it to your house on Uber Eats.
That's right.
Instacart. If you want junk food, you want a bag of Skittles, order it to your house on Instacart. You want a pizza now, order it on Instacart.
That's right.
Uber Eats, like there's such an immediacy now. There's no delayed gratification now.
That's right.
And I think it's such a thing that can create so many problems in people's lives, is not being able to like withstand temptation and delayed gratification. And like you said, it with sex, like with pornography and stuff like that, all the way down to smoking, all these things. It's like they want it now. They need to feel that now to settle themselves.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of what I've found on my journey. I've been sober now quite some time, and that was because I was smoking cigarettes like a pack and a half a day. I was smoking weed all day, like from morning till night. I was drinking very often. I was also doing harder drugs like coke whenever I felt the need to do it to feel it. And when I turned that corner and decided, I'm literally living a life of instant gratification that's sending me down a path of just the wrong path. And I turned that corner mentally and made the decision and said to myself, you're better than that. You don't deserve to feel like absolute shit every day.
And every single cigarette, not just physically, like about yourself and your self-worth.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Look, I feel crappy because I'm doing this, but I'm also like, when I sit there in dead silence, when you sit there with nothing but your thoughts, are you really like proud of what you're doing?
Or are you scared?
Or are you scared? Or are you scared to face the reality that is out there? And that's why you're turning to this, I think that's it. I mean, even when I was bodybuilding, to get back to your question of kind of where I suffer with things, obviously there's external pressures, there's financial pressures, and there also became a time where, there's a lack of passion growing inside that as well, and when I was looking to feel something that I wasn't getting out of bodybuilding anymore, that's when smoking a lot more weed than I should be smoking starting to happen. That's when nicotine addiction became very bad. I was lucky enough it's a weird thing with bodybuilding because it created the mental health issues that I had at that time, but it also saved me in a lot of ways because I was so obsessed with being the best bodybuilder that I wouldn't let myself turn to certain things because I knew that'd make me a worse bodybuilder.
Right.
Like getting into super hard drugs or getting into alcohol. I knew in my head, I'm like, if I do these, I'll be worse.
Yeah.
So I turned to the things I'm like, okay, I can do.
Well, you don't want to be hungover for 3 days.
I don't want to be hungover. I know
Ruins your lifts.
well, I know that the booze is going to inhibit protein synthesis. I'm not going to build muscle. I know that, you know, doing lots of stimulants and doing coke and stuff is definitely not good for building muscle.
No.
Your sleep goes out the window. We all know that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would basically turn to whatever I felt I could use that I felt wouldn't affect my bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't have affected my bodybuilding, that road would have kept going. So it's like bodybuilding kind of saved me in that aspect.
Yeah.
But like it also created in the same aspect. So it's like I have obviously a love for it because I know it was something in me I needed to deal with. That wasn't really bodybuilding, you know?
Yeah.
Like it brought it to the surface, but it wasn't bodybuilding itself. It was obviously, you know, internal struggles with who I was and what I wanted out of my life and insecurity and things like that, you know, that I really needed to face that I didn't need bodybuilding to have happen in my life. So it kind of worked both ways. It's like it created a problem in a sense, but it also saved me from the problems that are getting way out of hand, you know? So
Absolutely.
It's an interesting kind of thing when I think about it like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, my perspective, when I decided to go sober, it really changed my life, honestly. Telling myself that I'm better than that and I don't need that instant gratification and it's just a time thing. A lot of it when it came down to me kicking these habits, it was largely smoking cigarettes and largely weed. The other things I did on occasion, and I never felt that I was overly addicted to the point where I was doing it every single day. I wasn't doing it sober. I wasn't, you know, that badly addicted to it. Although, you know, it doesn't take much to fall down that slippery slope. We know lots of people, mutual friends that have passed away, that have had issues, that have gone down those roads that'll never come back.
Yeah.
And for me, a lifesaver was the gym.
Yeah.
It was honestly the gym. It was the fitness aspect of going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, getting that sweat, doing the cardio, and just the feeling that you get after you leave the gym was something that I constantly chase every day, multiple times a day. That feeling, in and of itself may actually be an addiction that might not be too great, but as compared to other things,
100%.
has been super helpful for me.
Well, yeah, because when you're talking about the instant gratification, you have to work for this gratification.
Yeah.
It's not you just put the cigarette and light it. You have to go in there and do something that I'll say all day is good for you. You know, I think the endorphins you're feeling, I think that, you know, routine that it creates, you know, where you have that part of your schedule and part of your daily like habits. I think routine is huge for people, especially like that are struggling with mental health things, creating like a good routine.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's one of the major things.
Do it on your, you know, on your Instagram, like, you know, you have the same things you do every night. You do your, you know, you're putting push-ups and your, what do you call them? What, up and down ones? What do you
Push-ups, sit-ups,
burpees, all
burpees, yeah.
Do all those things every night. Like there's this routine that you have of like certain things. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think like that's such a big thing for people to instill in their life that are really struggling with these things, is create purpose in your days and create routine in your days, you know? And I think putting fitness into that is just one of those things that can give you that feeling of gratification. That is something that you're actually like working for and doing something productive for. That makes you feel good about yourself. Not something that gives you an instant of like, I feel good, with that after like, shit, I don't feel so good about that, you know?
That's right.
So,
yeah. And a lot of the times, you know, what actually comes to my mind is actually pornography.
Yeah.
And let's say masturbating. After you're done that, how often do you feel great?
Nobody
feels good when you're done.
That was great. I'm happy I did.
I didn't feel great. No, you feel weird. You feel off. You feel guilty. You feel shamed.
Yeah.
You're just like, so if that's the kind of after effect that these things are giving you, the same sort of feeling from cigarettes, the same sort of feeling from harder drugs, from booze and all that sorts of stuff, they need to be replaced. And the best way to do that is, like you had mentioned, is with positive daily habits and daily routine. And I preach all the time, discipline through routine.
Yeah,
you know,
it's everything. Yeah,
and routine is everything. And you got to set your alarm. You got to wake up. You got to make your bed. You got to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
You got to get a quick workout in, get the blood flowing.
And it's interesting too, because when I look at the times where I was struggling the most in my bodybuilding career, like I was a machine with certain things. Like I would train every day, and all these things were like very part of my day, but the actual routine from the day got lost.
Yeah.
Like I'd be going to bed at weird hours. I was eating my foods weird times. I was training at different times every day. I was getting up. I was napping. I was like, there was no structure to it.
No.
So it's like, yeah, I was getting up and I was doing what I needed to do to be a better bodybuilder every day. But in terms of like the chaos I created around it, was doing absolutely nothing positive for my mental health. And when I look to the years where I was thriving mentally and physically as a bodybuilder, that routine was like 100% intact.
Right.
So you can see, I can chronologically see it in my mind of the years where I was feeling the best, succeeding the best, and where I was in terms of my daily routine and structure versus the years where I started to feel different about it and started to have more internal struggles and my routine started to go with it. They go hand in hand. It's almost impossible. You will be hard pressed to find many people that are not in a mental state of dismay, that their life is not also in a state of somewhat dismay. Their sleep habits, there's no routine to their day. Like when they get up is uneven, when they go to bed is uneven, when they eat, when they do anything, when they train, whatever it is, when they go to work, their work shifts are all over the place. The time they spend with their spouse could be, inconsistent. They're not putting time aside to build their relationships, So I think when you set these times and build a schedule and build a routine for yourself to give yourself structured purpose to the days and a feeling fulfillment of something else other than what we're using to fill those voids, it can go such a long way,
Absolutely. And I think for the average guy, setting those daily wins, setting achievable daily wins on top of,
Achievable's a big part.
Is a big part, right? I mean, on top of, you want to have these grand aspirations and these grand goals and you want to achieve and you want to be Superman.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that to get to those massive wins, you need to conquer a bunch of little wins.
100%.
The little smashable daily goals build up that confidence, give you that discipline, and give you a path so that when you are faced with major obstacles in your life, you know how to handle it.
It's funny you said that because it's honestly one of the number one questions I get from younger guys starting in bodybuilding. They're like, just the general thing of like, if you could give me one tip to like be the best, blah, blah, blah. And if there's one thing I always say to everyone, I say it's get really good at just lining up good days. It's not about like having 10 perfect days or one amazing day where you live the best ever. I'm like, just have good days and line up as many of them in a row as you can. Days where you're good with your food, good with your nutrition, good with your routine. And I'm like, it's not about like, these big blockbuster things. At the end, yeah, it can be, but they get there by one day at a time. It's literally one day of, hey, I have my checklist of things I need to do in that day to make me better for the next day. And I just work those one day at a time, just one day to the next. And all you can control is what's in that day.
Absolutely.
Like, tomorrow isn't a real thing. Like today is the only real thing.
That's why it's called the present.
Exactly, right? It's, you just need to worry about today and checking the things off that you need to do today. And that's what I say. I'm like, just get really good at worrying about being as good as you can today. Just check off the boxes one day after another.
That's right. And it can be as little as brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Making your bed.
Just small things in routine. I mean, if you hear guys like Jordan Peterson, these guys talk, they'll be huge advocates of, guys that are really struggling. Start with the basic shit. Make your bed every day.
Absolutely.
And look, I've been in those points where I felt like crap and even just getting up and making the bed made me feel better about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the days I didn't do it, that I was like, fuck, like I'm failing in my day.
Yeah.
So like, even small steps like that can give you like a win in your day if you're really struggling.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I mean, we've all been to pretty dark places. I know that we spoke about it before very briefly about, depression and anxiety and all those sorts of mental health effects. I know myself, I have been pretty much the lowest that you could possibly be in my life. I went through a pretty nasty divorce. Mind it, I have to take accountability now that I'm looking back in retrospect. I mean, I wasn't an angel.
Yeah.
But I did go through a pretty nasty time in my life where I didn't think that there was a way out. I felt so depressed, so helpless to my situation. Yeah. I had options in front of me to handle my situation, but I didn't look at them in a positive light.
No, you felt a victim to your situation.
I felt a victim. Yeah. And again, doubling back, I mean, how did I get through those darkest times? And I mean, dark.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, suicidal, dark.
I get it. Yeah.
Ready to turn off the light. And what got me through those, again, I got to double back, and I will multiple times as we're talking, is fitness. Yeah. It's the gym, and also being a father.
Yeah.
Having kids, and at the end of the day, going through what I went through and being separated from my kids. I need to make a quick side note.
Sure.
So a big reason for why I started doing this and why I started pushing this was that I wanted to affect change in young men and women and help guide them along a proper path. But I also wanted to give voice to divorced fathers specifically, because that is a niche of men who are at a major risk of suicide. They're offing themselves left, right, and center because they feel so victimized and so not in control of their scenario that they just don't see the light. And what I'm trying to get through to these guys is, one, you need to drop the shit habits. You need to get on the daily routines like we were talking about. You need to hit the gym, take care of your body, and that will trickle upstairs, top shelf. You'll feel better, you'll think better. Opportunities will present themselves that you never even realized before. And another thing that I really want to drive home to these guys is that your absence from your children does not weaken your bond with them. Because that's how I felt. Like I felt, because I couldn't see my kids every day, that it was hurting our relationship. And that really was it rotted, man. And it took a lot to get past that. But now we're years past, and I can say confidently that, you know, my bond with my kids was never shaken. So just a quick side note, like I said, I just want to make sure that those guys understand that I'm here for them, that this platform I'm trying to create is a community for men, for women as well, but largely for men, because they don't have that space. And I just want these dads, I want these divorced dads to know that that bond is not shaken. That bond is strong as ever.
I think a good point you made there too, and it kind of circles into everything we said there. And one of the first things you said on that was actually that you had to take accountability.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think with everything we're talking about here, with why you're using substances or where you are in your life, look, there is things where things are out of your control, but there's a lot of things that we are a product of what we created, you know?
100%.
And I think why so many people stay in the circumstances that they stay in, and it just goes around and around and around, is because they can never take accountability. They continually see themselves as a victim. And look,
they want to put the blame elsewhere.
They put the blame elsewhere. And look, even if that is to some degree the reality, where it is external forces making things harder for you, there are still things that you can and will need to take accountability for to better the situation, you know? Like you said with you, I mean, in terms of the things that you did as a partner that you're not proud of or whatever it was, you know, one of the biggest steps to move forward that and bettering yourself is you have to take accountability for, like, what am I doing and what have I done that affected how I got here, you know?
Exactly.
And if you can't do that, you're always going to look at yourself in a victim state. You know, you're always going to have this victim mindset of, this wasn't in my control. I'm just a product of my circumstances, blah, blah, blah. Woe is me. If you have that woe is me attitude all the time, it's impossible to make change.
It's impossible. And you get stuck in, like you said, that roulette, that just over and over, that repetitive cycle, and that beats a man down. And if you don't take actionable steps to get out of that,
it'll just lower and lower and lower. And each cycle will be a little lower than the last. And that's like, you know, when you said you were your lowest, I'm sure that's exactly how you felt. Like, you felt like it was all happening to you, and there was none of it was because of you. You know, and I think once people come to the realization that you can be better, you know, and you are, not everything is happening to you. Some of it's happening because of you. And what can you do to better yourself and move through these instead of just sitting here, woe is me, I'm a product of my circumstance. So, you know, I think is one of the most, like, empowering things, you know, as a man especially, you can do, you know.
I agree entirely. I agree entirely. It's just fantastic. So, I mean, let's talk about briefly again about the daily habits. You know, do you ever make yourself a checklist? Do you make yourself a daily checklist, a weekly checklist? Do you write down your goals specifically? Because I know that helps a lot of guys. For me,
I think it's huge. And like you said before, you know, I think writing small, short, like, I think you need a variety of, like, short-term daily goals, weekly goals. You know, having ones that are ones you can still strive for in the long term, but also ones that you can hit every day, you know, like ones of, you know, I want to do this today. I want to do this today. And I find writing them down is huge.
It's huge,
you know, because it's making you, like we were just talking about, hold accountability.
There's accountability there. There's a list right in front of your face.
And if you look at the end of the day of, like, I did none of these, you're gonna be like, wow, I'm fucking useless.
But then, you know what? The opposite effect happens. And when you crank those out and you're doing this all day, end of the day, you've gone through it. You know what you do? The next day, you write the same one, then you add more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you're cranking those out. And then, like I said, discipline through routine, daily wins, smashable goals.
Yeah.
And it just adds up, builds your confidence. It will get you out of that rut.
Yeah. No, that all comes down to the routine like we were talking about. You know, write down your goals. You know, for me, like even just something as much as like using my calendar, like writing in the things like I got to do that day, what I want to do, when I want to do it. You know, just creating that routine, and a routine that I feel like, you know, I don't know what the word is for it, but I feel, you know, somewhat obligated to abide by. You know, I know that these are things that I need to do to feel the best for me, you know, and those are going to be different for everybody. And I just make sure that at the end of the day, like I've checked off all those boxes, and that's going to make you, at the end of the day, when you go to bed, there's going to be a lot more feeling of fulfillment and purpose to your day. You know, like we were talking about this, and I think so many, especially with men, you know, as they get older, you know, when you're young, there's so much going on in your life. And as you get older, finding purpose is like one of the things that I think like absolutely drives men to the toilet. Yeah. When they have like, they feeling they have no purpose to their life, you know, they're working a job that's the same 9 to 5 that's not going to go anywhere. You know, like you said, you might have had a relationship that's been squandered with your children. You have no fitness goals. You know, what's your purpose to your day? You're just existing. You're just going through life existing.
Purpose and passion is so important.
So, and I think purpose is, but that comes hand in hand with setting those goals. You know, you can't, if you're setting goals, you're creating a purpose and you're putting it on paper. Like, this is my purpose for today, for tomorrow, you know, whatever it is for a year from now, you know, and this is my intention for the day, and I'm going to check these off and I'm going to get towards that, you know? Yeah.
I was actually having a discussion with one of my very close friends, and he was talking to me about how he's just so fed up with what he does on a day-to-day basis with his job, and it's depressing him. And, you know, he's stuck in this routine of, you know, he's got bills, he's got to pay his bills, but he absolutely hates what he does. Now, would you be able to give someone like that some advice as to how they could possibly change their scenario and take control of their life again?
Yeah, no, I think for someone like that, I mean, a big thing is you need to take positive steps in looking of like write down, what do you think would make you feel fulfilled? You know, you're saying, I don't like this. Okay, well, write down and give some options of what you actually would like to be doing.
Right.
And then once you figure that out, okay, what are the steps I need to take to get there? And what are the steps I need to take along the way? If it's a different job, okay, this is the job. What does it take to get this new job? You know, if I want to work for myself, this is a new business I want to start. Okay, well, let's do some research and set every day. Check, you know, I need to look up this. What does it take? Today, my goal is, you know, look up or talk to people what it takes to start a business, start an LLC, what bank accounts I need, what do I do this to incorporate myself, what it is. Set these goals, build the knowledge. You know, you don't need to step out of it right away. Set these things so that you feel ready when the time comes to make a transition. Right. You feel prepared, so it's not so big and scary. You're like, holy cow, I'm going to my job.
I think that's what it is for a lot of guys. Like, I'm not, like, I'm speaking specifically for my friend, but however, there are millions of men, of course, that are stuck in that. I hate
more than not.
Most men are stuck in that I hate what I do, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And to a certain extent, that is part of being a man. You do have to do things you don't want to do on a daily basis.
Yes.
But in my opinion, and in my life thus far, I think that your purpose and your passion should take precedent over the dollar.
Well, and opportunities are, you need to create them for yourself.
You have to create them.
Like, they're not just going to, like, look, unless you've, and even that, no, I don't know anyone. There's people that are lucky, sure. But even the people that I know that have the most opportunities thrown at them, it's because they created the first one, and then it starts to steamroll from there. Effect. It's a trickle effect, you know. Once you start to
one after another,
build that base work, you know, that foundation of, you know, getting those things in order, and then things start to steamroll like that, you know, get downhill. I think that's the way to go for it. But for someone like that, yeah, I would write down tangible things of like, what do I want to be doing? Where do I see myself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? You know, make these tangible things. And if this is your goal, okay, you know, say you're working a 9 to 5 job that you're maxed out. Like, this is as far as I'm going to go. I don't enjoy it. Okay, well, what do you want to be doing? Say it's want to start a business, like I said, what it takes to start it, like you've been doing. You know, I'm sure every day, and I see it there, applying, you're trying to make progressive steps to make this what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's reaching out to different people, you know, engaging on your social media, whether it's trying to connect people like me and make this happen.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, you could have just been like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? I'd be like, yeah. And then you could have just done nothing with it.
That's right.
Like, you know, so many people do that. They'll be like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then they say it, but then the fear of the action overwhelms them. Both, you know, either one of us been like, oh, sorry, I got to cancel. Oh, sorry, something came up, where it's just internal anxiety of the actual approaching it.
And don't get me wrong, I had lots of anxiety.
You're still here.
But I'm still here.
You're still here.
And I know that what I'm trying to bring forth is actually helping. I'm being told that every day.
Yeah.
Like, not even just to like toot my own horn.
No.
I'm being told that.
Yeah.
Like, you're inspiring me. I'm losing weight. I'm less depressed. I'm getting out of bed. I love your posts. I get messages, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been an inspiration.
This is what when we talked at the very beginning, I remember saying that to you, that 15 years of bodybuilding, and I competed and accomplished things at the very pinnacle of the sport. When I look back at my 15 years of bodybuilding, the things that I look back in the best light of are like the connections with people I made. With like the young guys that are like, man, I was fucking fat as shit, and my girlfriend broke up with me. I did this, I did that, and like watching the podcast or watching how you train so hard, like motivated me to get off my ass and fucking, I can be better than this, And I think whether that's your goal or not, the feeling of knowing that what you're doing is putting someone down the right path is a very powerful feeling.
It's hugely powerful.
And like, look, I've been, on the biggest stages, and like I said, won some big shows. And like, those are cool memories, but in my life of bodybuilding, when I look back at it, like the people I met and the impact that I feel I had on those people, whether it was direct or indirect, is a much more powerful feeling and memory and things that when I continue outside, things that with you in your life out of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, I've stepped away from bodybuilding, but how can I still have value to the, from the knowledge I've accrued within this? If it's, giving back to people and helping them learn, or, whatever it is, doing podcasts like this or doing the podcast that I already do, there's still so many things that can be of value to people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as long as we focus on providing value, this is how I've approached it. I am super afraid of being considered a fraud.
Yeah.
That is like number one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have serious fear of putting myself out there and then people going, this guy's full of shit.
Yeah.
So literally on my goals every day is like, be Superman. Like you have to set the pace, set the tone, get out there. You have to create the unbelievable physique. You have to have that bulletproof mind.
And you just need to take action.
Lead the way.
And even like it was today, like, when I said, there's a place in Carbon Place, within 10 minutes, you were like, yep, the owners, blah, blah, blah. I messaged them, I called them, I got a thing ready to go. Like, you took the action of what needs to be done to get this done.
Yeah.
It would have been easy for you to just been like, oh yeah, no, I can't get the path, let's just do another time, and just drift off into nothing.
Yeah.
They could have, I had it happen with a million people where they wanted to do something, but they didn't want to do it, or they let the fear override them, or the victimness override them enough, that they didn't kind of put things into motion themselves.
That's right.
And when people like take the steps to like make action, even if it's horribly uncomfortable for you, like, and I think you're never going to be comfortable doing something new that's uncomfortable,
Right.
And I think the more we put ourselves
in those positions,
the less uncomfortable
you are over time, because you get more comfortable.
When we were filming training today,
and
you were saying like, like how talking in front of the camera, where I was like, I've done.
You said go ahead, go your intro, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Where for me, look, I've done hundreds of hours of YouTube cameras or interviews or podcasts or whatever it is, but I wasn't always that way. And look, the first couple times there was, podcasts that reach out to me or interviews that reach out to me. Hey, you want to do this? I'd be like, yeah, but then the time would come, I would cancel, when I was in that bad time in my life in bodybuilding, when the anxiety was overriding, I would say yes to everything because I didn't want to confront it in the time.
Right.
I didn't want to have to deal with like, oh no, sorry, I don't really feel like it. And then possibly like, oh, why not? Like, what else,
Yeah.
So I would give them the answer they wanted to hear. But then when time came and I started to feel the social anxiety build of it, I would try and get out of it, or I would just no show or whatever.
And I think a lot of people let that kind of fear take over, and it's a learned habit.
But like I was saying, with being in front of the camera, the only way you get better at things and the way that you can get rid of that feeling of the anxiety creeping in with new uncomfortable challenges is to just dive into them.
It's to just do it.
Just do it.
My whole perspective here with this podcast and moving forward, this being my first episode.
But like, tell me now, once you've done one of this, how much better will you feel doing another one?
Oh, I already know what I want to do differently.
Yeah.
And what I'm really enjoying, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And things get better after repetition.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And if you're afraid of something, it's because you haven't put yourself out there to do it yet. And there's really nothing to be afraid of other than your own insecurities when it comes to stuff like that.
Sure.
Like, I understand that this isn't going to be a perfect podcast. This isn't going to be
the reality,
the best video or the best audio or the best workout that we did or the best, but it's putting myself and this journey on
better
steps to be better and getting on that path and just accepting it and learning and growing and letting it go. And I think a lot of guys, men, when it comes to making massive changes in their life, that's that creeping fear of not being able to accept imperfectness.
Yeah. Well, and they use it sometimes as, I don't want to do that. I'm not good at it. Yeah. They use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
They use it as an excuse.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm not going to be good at it, so I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know until you try? You don't know. You're using it because you're scared.
Yeah.
You're scared, or you're nervous, or you're, self-conscious about how you might look, or, that I might sound silly on the podcast or whatever it is, you can let that override you, and so many people do.
Yeah.
So I think just, the more you dive into it and exercise, like you said, it takes repetitions to get good at anything. Like, look, even like my brother-in-law, like Chris Bumstead, who is the biggest person in the fitness world by a large margin. When you go back to his YouTube and watch him do the first couple of YouTubes he did, the first 2 years probably, it's the most awkward thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't a deterrence to people.
No.
Because people saw...
Because it's authentic.
It's authentic.
Real.
You saw a genuineness to it. You saw a real person that, look, he might be the best bodybuilder in the world, but he gets in front of a camera and he's nervous just like me.
Yeah.
Like when I get in front of a camera, I feel just like this guy. Yeah. So there's a relatability to that.
And I think if you look at every major figure at their beginning stages, it's always like that.
Of course.
You're
trying to learn how to navigate that world.
Yeah. His early podcasts were horrible.
But the difference with them is they didn't, if there was a few bad comments or people would be like, wow, this guy's awkward or whatever, they didn't be like, okay, I suck, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're like, well, okay, what can I do to be better?
That's right.
And I just keep practicing, keep getting those reps in, like you said, and keep progressing to it. And this is like anything, whether it's trying to build a business or trying to have a better physique or trying to get a better job or whatever it is, you need to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations. You need to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
Whatever you want to make happen, you need to just take accountability and put yourself out there,
Believe it in your mind, you can create it in life.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of that manifestation, all that stuff. I say it all the time. It's not hippy dippy to me.
No,
I've done it
because you're experiencing it. How can it be hippy dippy?
Absolutely. And I've done it a few times in my life, not only just with this new journey that I started January 1st.
Sure.
I've had multiple businesses in the past where I just knew. I knew it was going to work. No one else saw it. No one else really understood, but I knew and I felt it.
Sure.
I went for it and it worked.
Yeah.
Again, the problem with me and my long-term consistency of it was always, now that I'm looking back and taking accountability, right, was my alcoholism, was my smoking weed every day. When you're trying to grow a business and you're trying to do real business, real business men and women don't want to do business with drunks.
No.
They don't want to do business with potheads.
No, they don't want that association.
They don't, because if you're going to cheat in your personal life, you're going to cheat in the business life.
Yeah, there's a lack of trust that is built there.
There's a lot. And, in retrospect, I've built several companies accumulating over millions of dollars. Sure. I've had a car wash, I've had plumbing companies, I've had construction companies, and all these businesses out the gate took off and did phenomenally.
Yeah.
But to keep that consistent, to keep that constant go, I always found I wasn't able to do that because I was fucking around.
Yeah. But then it's interesting now.
But now
that you said that, it is. And then listen to this, when you loop that back around to even what I said before, when people ask me how to be a better bodybuilder, and I said, just keep lining up one good day in front of the other. Yeah. And that's what it is. Like with those kind of things, you had good days at start, but then you let a day fall off, a day here, a day where you've been drinking hard, a day where you smoked too much weed and you slept through the day or did this. That's where it falls apart. And that's where I'm saying it's like, it's just small daily, just line up good, consistent days, just one after the other, just keep marching forward, checking off the boxes of that to-do list every day, setting those little goals every day and marching it forward. And you didn't need to do grand things to make that. You just need to be continually consistent.
It was continually consistent. And I'm reminded of a time in my life where I was building a plumbing company with my old man. And one of the things that I knew this company needed, I needed a partnership with an insurance company.
Sure.
And I went out of my way 8 hours a day. I was making phone calls, texting. I would talk to any insurance person that would talk to me.
Yeah.
Brokers, agents, anybody. And it took me maybe 6 months of 8 hours a day on the phone, literally just talking to anybody that would talk to me. I ended up getting in front of Allstate Insurance in Toronto, sitting at a table, 12 people, 4 people on an intercom, just me, them grilling me. Walked out of there with a pilot partnership, brought my family to Windsor and started making like 50 grand.
Yeah.
And that was all from small daily wins, manifesting, understanding and seeing the goal, seeing the purpose, and just taking actionable steps every single day, little steps.
Yeah.
Now that business fell apart due to personal circumstances that ended up coming from divorce and things like that.
Sure.
But the premise is still there that if you, like you said, prioritize your days and line up those small wins, they add up to the big win.
And I think it's important to know too, like for people listening to this, that these things apply to everything.
Everything.
Like whether it's talking about business or even like your personal relationships.
Yeah.
You know, like personal relationships are not a thing that like, especially as we get older, you know, like
They don't have to work at.
yeah, like when you're young, you gotta like, you just have friends, you see them at school, you know, you see them at the parties, you see them at the bars, and it just is easy.
Yeah.
As you get older, let's be serious, we all have a lot less friends than we did when we were 18. You know, so I don't really the same amount of people that I talked to since I was 18.
Yeah.
But
that's a good thing.
it's a good thing, but it's also, it takes work to have relationships, you know?
Yes.
And it takes, if you don't put any effort forward and do those daily steps or weekly steps or, you know, put effort into these things like you would into your training or building your routine or building your business, you know, like the same as keeping your relationship with your wife or your mother or your friends, those relationships will go just like a business can. They'll fall apart just like a business can.
And just as fast.
It may be even faster.
Yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
It's one of these things that like can apply to anything in life like that, you know, just making that constant effort towards these things. If you want them, you need to recognize them. Like I said, with the, you know, buddy starting a business, you need to write down what your goals, what you want out of it, what you want out of these relationships, and you need to make conscious effort steps towards them, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, fantastic. I think this has been unreal. So I guess if we can take a step back,
Sure.
and let's try and think about the average man that's going to be listening to us. You know, what kind of, on a bit of a pivot, but not too much, what kind of advice would you give somebody, let's say a 9-to-5 man, father, woman, mother, 9-to-5 person, just working full time, that wants to prioritize their fitness, but doesn't think that they have the time to do it? What are some tips that you could give people like that?
Well, the biggest tip I can give them is fitness doesn't take a lot of time. Like you could train 20 minutes a day and you can make massive strides. You could train 20 minutes 3 times a week and make massive strides in your fitness if you're doing it right, you know? So I think one, like we talked about everything, is set goals, set daily goals, make a routine. You know, whether it's in your budget or not of getting a trainer, it's really irrelevant. You know, obviously those kind of things are going to help.
Yes,
but they're absolutely not necessary. You know, I think, you know, just set the goals and the intentions that you want and make a program, you know, put yourself daily of, I want to train 20 minutes here, find the time. And I think the biggest thing with people is they give themselves the excuse of like, I don't have time, because
I hear that a lot.
but because they're talking as if going to the gym or going to workout takes 2, 3, 4 hours out of their day.
Yeah.
But you can go into your basement and like the stuff you're doing before bed, you can get down there. If you're someone, you can't even do full push-ups, get on your knees and do push-ups, or do them on the edge of your couch where you're on an incline, you know, so you're not doing your whole body weight.
And that's not before bed, that's at 4 a.m. But
Oh, 4 a.m. I'm watching it the next morning. So I'm thinking, sorry,
no.
that's before I got up. So,
Yeah.
you know, so exactly, you know, you're setting that, you can do something like that, just doing air squats, push-ups, burpees, do 50 minutes, get your heart rate jacked up for 15, 20 minutes, you know, get it jacked up every day, and then go from there.
Yeah, I'm just a huge proponent of waking up early, getting after your day.
Yeah,
I get
and
that.
starting with something that's going to wake you up good like that, you know, get the blood going, get the endorphins flowing, and put you on a positive note to start the day.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think that's the biggest thing for people is one, realizing that it doesn't take hours to like, even, I'll be completely honest, this is one of the things you hear with bodybuilders. People will ask like, wow, like how many hours a week did it take to build that, you know? And when I give the answer to some people, they're like, that's it, you know? Because it's not like I was in the gym 6 hours a day, every day. Like you worked. Exactly, right? That's the reality is I could, and I know bodybuilders 100% firsthand that are top 10 in the world bodybuilders that train it's 4 days a week. You can't tell me there's not every single person that can put 4 hours of a week of work is cool that they don't have that time. Everyone has that time.
Yeah.
You just need to make the time. You need to
Carving that time out. It's prioritizing.
Yeah, and look, sometimes maybe, like I said, those workouts will be 20 minutes. You know, just do something high intensity. You know, go outside, run around the block real fast for 15 minutes, come inside, do a couple push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, get a good shower, go to work.
Bingo.
You can make 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be driving to the gym and doing this and or seeing a train. Like, it doesn't need to be this big, extensive thing that you're justifying. This is like we were talking about before. People are putting these excuses in their mind of, oh, it takes way too much time. I don't have time. But when you actually look down to it, how much time it really takes, it doesn't take much. I created one of the best physiques in the world, and I was never in my life was I going to the gym more than, 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week,
Really, eh?
No, like 5 to 6 days a week at most, 90 minutes. Like, I would do cardio and stuff like that.
That is somewhat surprising to me, to be quite honest.
That's all it
I
is.
was under the assumption that, I was under the assumption 3 hours a day.
Exactly.
Fucking no days off.
No, never.
Really?
No, because
That's amazing.
one, your body needs rest to be the best.
That was my next question. So you're a big proponent of the resting.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is there such thing as overtraining?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it comes from two ends. Obviously the average person, if your nutrition is not at the level it was of a pro bodybuilder, it's extremely easy to overtrain. Obviously the only way you can fuel training to that degree is from nutrition.
Right.
If you're breaking the body down and you're burning through carbs, but breaking down muscle tissue and requiring protein, it needs to be input. Or
Right.
yes, it's very easy to overtrain. But I think it doesn't take 6, 7, 8 days, in a row of training to make a good physique. Like I said from the beginning, 3 days a week for 20, 30 minutes. If you're doing from nothing, that can make a wild progress.
The world of difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like I said, I know some of the best bodybuilders. There's names like Nick Walker, who's won an Arnold Classic and is a top 5 Olympia guy. I know he weight trains 4 days a week. He'll get up and he'll walk to do his cardio every morning. Just wakes up, sets his morning every day like you're doing yours. Gets on the treadmill or the stepper for 20, 30 minutes to get things going. And then he only trains, 4 days a week for an hour, 90 minutes. And this is one of the biggest, best bodybuilders on the planet. So when people set these, roadblocks in their mind of, I need so much time, I don't have it, it's an absolute lie. Like,
There's a lie.
it's a fallacy. Yeah, it's an excuse. Like, look, is there sports that require that? Like, if you want to be a world-class, triathlete or Ironman runner or cyclist or, swimmer like the Michael Phelps of the world, is there probably going to take? Yes, but that's your career. And that's different when you're talking about sports specialization versus like making yourself look and feel good.
Right. Yeah. Most people aren't into training for a specific sport. I'd say nine people out of 10. They just want to look good when they're naked.
Exactly. They want to look good. They want to feel good. They want to feel confident, and I think that it takes very little. So, I think people need to stop setting these crazy things in their mind that it's going to take way more.
If I don't have an hour a day every day, I can't work out.
No.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Just look, plan in a week to give yourself 3 hours a week to start. 3 hours a week. That can be 45 minutes, 4 days a week, whatever you want, set that aside and look at your schedule for the week and be like, where can I fit this in? Mm-hmm. Okay, I work till 5 here. I got the kids here. Okay, I can do it when they go to bed. Or I can wake up 45 minutes early, 30 minutes earlier. Is that really going to ruin your day? No, it's going to make it better. So, there's time everywhere. You just need to make it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be the time there. You just need to make it for yourself. And it's not going to take much. So, find a program that you like. I think the biggest thing with training, people so often do things that they think they need to do and not things that they like to do.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing with achieving fitness goals is your ability to adhere. If it's a program that you don't enjoy and that you're not excited to do every day and you're picking exercises that you don't like at all, you're not going to want to do it, So I think you need to find things that you enjoy because look, if there's one thing I've learned in bodybuilding from the years I've done it, and I get this all the time, this question when I do my Q&As or we talk on the podcast and people be like, what exercises do I have to be doing deadlifts to build a good back? You don't have to be doing anything.
That's right.
You could find 15 of the best athletes or bodybuilders in the world. We could all be doing completely different things.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be doing bent over rows to get a good back. You don't have to be doing squats to have good legs. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
There's no split of like, oh, should I train
The magic split.
chest on this day with triceps and this? Is what do you enjoy the most and what's going to make you feel the most motivated to want to do that every day? What's going to cause the highest level of adherence? And this doesn't even just apply to regular people trying to get in shape. Even at the highest levels of bodybuilding, we're creating our splits and picking our exercises. Yeah, what we think we need, but within that of like, what do we enjoy and that we're going to feel like, look, I knew for a long time that doing deadlifts was probably not something that I needed in my training. Actually, probably the opposite. It was probably developing things that was already probably overdeveloped and I didn't really need it, but I loved doing them.
Yeah. And you're world class at doing them.
But I got world class at doing them.
Some of the strongest lifts I've ever fucking.
Yeah, but see how I got world class at doing them was because I loved them and I wanted to do them.
Right.
So I was putting that in my programming because I got excited to go to the gym to deadlift.
To do it.
Yeah. So then I would go to, and I would, but what I would do is I always put them last at my workout.
Oh, really?
So I would do everything else. So I had to like reward myself with the deadlifts. So like if I'm doing back.
So when you were hammering out,
that's the last exercise. That's the last exercise.
deadlifts for 15 reps. That's the last step.
Yeah.
Exercise.
I might do one other thing after it, but generally it would be like last or second last. Yeah, because I don't want to do it at the first thing, and then I'm like, meh, okay, I'm done what I want to do. Yeah, you know, I'm like, the big thing is, though, like the energy is going to diminish down the workout. I would pick the things that I like the most, I'd put them near the end.
Yeah.
So I had to work towards them at the end, and I'd be like motivated to work through them at the end, right? So, you know, that's one thing I could recommend people is pick things you like to do.
You enjoy doing.
Yeah.
There's no magic split.
There's no magic split, and there's no magic exercise. No exercise is required. There's no thing that's required. You don't have to run. You don't have to do squats. You don't have to do bench press. Absolutely none of it is a prerequisite. You know? Yeah.
I find the deadlifts, with deadlifts specifically, in my opinion, like the ROI that comes with deadlifts, I don't think it's there. I think the risk of hurting your back is way too high.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. But in that same breath, like I was saying, if it's...
But you were in love with them.
But me, I was in love with them, and I knew that it was something that was, even if it itself wasn't making me a better bodybuilder, the energy that it created, and the motivation it created, and the excitement it created to train around it, it could be a better... Yeah, you know, and just like I loved it. I got excited to go to the gym that day.
Yeah.
And I picked exercises like that in every day I trained.
Right.
Would there be a few exercises in there that like maybe I didn't love? Sure. Because I had certain, obviously you're getting to a level where you need some kind of specificity.
Yeah.
But even then, there is variability that you can pick things you like more. But I would always have something in the workout that was something I just really loved to do, so that every day I got to train that I was excited to do that one thing. I also think a big thing with training and to keep motivation, which is just kind of like we were talking about with like writing things down and goal setting, isn't logbooking.
Right.
Writing down your progress.
I see a lot of guys doing that. I personally have never done it, but
yeah, I didn't do it a lot of my bodybuilding career. I did as it got later, and I wish I had done it more.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. And I think there's nothing that feels more good if, say, like you
again, it comes down to the list, the checking it off.
Wrote down bench press last week. Set 1 pounds. Set 2, you did 150 pounds. Set 3, you did 185 pounds. The next day you go like, okay, I did 130 pounds. I'm going to do 135 this time. I did 150 there. I'm going to do 155. 180 there. I'm going to do 185 and try and get the same reps. And even if it's adding a 2.5 pound plate, a 1 pound plate, like add 2 pounds every week, just something to make yourself feel like, hey, I'm doing something progressive here. I'm increasing, you know, and it doesn't even need to be weight goals. Like I think this is definitely with younger guys, is they think progress in weight training is just weight moved. And I think that's a very bad way to look at it. It can even be like when we were trained today, when I was, you know, tell you to slow down a rep or change something with form. That is progression.
Yeah.
You could have got the exact same, you could have maybe even got one less rep than you would usually get, but your total time under tension, how you controlled it, the range of motion, the control, that is a form of progress and progressive overload.
Oh, 100%. My brother often gets on me about my tempo. He says I rep out too quick, and I flex through them.
Yeah.
And I don't spend enough time under tension.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's like, guys are like, I just got to move more poundage. And look, in bodybuilding, there's going to be a point where you can't always move more.
That's right.
There was, like, if I trained for 4
we had a couple machines maxed right out, and I was like, man, we're not.
No, and even within that, say, Barbara, where there is infinite weight you could put on, like, it's not like in my lifetime I can go from benching 300 to 400 to 500 to 600 to 700 to 800. There's limits to strength.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a point in your life. No, there isn't. You will plateau. So when you reach a plateau in something, it's like, well, how can I continue to progress in this when I can't add more weight? Or how can I add more to that is change of tempo, change of technique, improvement on these other things that are within the same exercise and the same weight, you know? So like, yeah, if you're doing it, well, make it perfect. Slow that tempo down, stretch, get the good contraction, make the negative a little slower, you know, put yourself in. One thing I'm really big on with exercises, with training as a whole, is making an exercise as hard as possible. Like that's making it easier. you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
'Cause if you're making it easier, there's a reason it's easier.
It was like at the end of the workout that we did those one rep, then quarter rep, one rep,
Yeah.
quarter rep, then the squeeze. Like that was just, I've never done those before. That felt super creative.
Or even like,
It was unreal.
even when I was talking about like,
Length was just,
or even when we were doing the flies and the hands want to come here and I'm like, straighten the arm.
yeah.
You know?
Oh man, that was an unbelievable tidbit of pro bodybuilding information that I never really thought of.
These small things like that, just like little things like that you can improve in your training that doesn't have to be just linear progression in weight. You know?
And what I was speaking about is we were doing flies, and typically when you have flies, you have the grips here like this. You're bringing them up, cable flies, and you're bringing them up to touch your hands together like this.
Or even dumbbells. People think touching their hands.
That's right. People focus on touching your hands. And what Iain was telling me earlier in the lift was focus on bringing your elbows together.
Yeah.
So when you're bringing it up to the top, it's like this.
You're trying to touch
like
the
this.
inside of your elbows.
You're trying to do this.
Yeah.
And it's got that squeeze on the chest.
Yeah.
And when he showed that to me,
Well, 'cause like-
it was like a light switch. I was like, I've never thought of
Watch
it.
it right now. Go push your hands together like this.
Yeah.
There's almost no chest contraction. Now straighten your arms.
That's right.
It's a completely different contraction. It's levers, right?
Yeah.
So, it's just small things that you can make like that.
Yeah. And I've been training my chest. Look, I feel like my chest is pretty strong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I've just never.
But there's always things that, and I think that's a big thing too is, you see it a lot with bodybuilders especially is you need to always be willing to learn, be a student of the game, For me, like
That's one of the
I've been
things
training for 20 years, but if I train with someone new, even if I think maybe I know more than them, I'm more than willing if they give me a pointer and I feel that it's a great thing, I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, I know more than you. If this feels
you
good,
better come humble.
yeah,
Yeah, come humble in every workout because something is to be learned from everybody.
yeah.
And definitely today when we did that lift, that chest lift, that was fantastic. And I definitely learned quite a bit. I know my brother did too.
Yeah.
I think my brother's still sore.
Getting back to the, someone just looking to incorporate it into their life, I think set realistic time frames and goals and things like this, and don't set this delusion of grandeur that you need in crazy amounts of time. Start small, build on it. And once you get those habits built, you're going to want to prioritize it more in your day. Once you get that in, it's like, okay, you've got 3 days a week for 30 minutes and you start to feel how that's making you feel. You're going to want to be like, okay, I can do a fourth day. I can do 30 minutes more, 20 minutes more.
It's going to compound.
It's going to compound. So you just got to get the ball rolling. Like we were talking about with anything before, get that ball rolling, feeling like you're doing something constructive and positive in your day and something that's making you feel good about what you're doing. And it all it takes is a very small step, And I was talking to my mother-in-law about this with, they're trying to improve their, get their body weight down for their, health and longevity. And I said, just look, even if you want to get on the bike in the morning, like they have a recumbent bike, if you want to just get on there first thing in the morning, get on there for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter because you're not doing it now. 15 minutes, even 10 minutes.
It's better than nothing.
It's more than you're doing now.
Yeah.
So like people overwhelm themselves with these, like, I got to get on the bike for an hour.
Yeah. I see this guy doing it this way. I see that guy there for a 2 hour. Yeah, you're right. And
then you
sets it sets unrealistic goals for yourself.
Well, it sets like a certain level of monotony to it where, you might adhere to it. And this is what I was talking about with the exercise or the splits when you need to do things that you enjoy, because anyone can stick to something for a week or a day or a month. But like, it's a lot different when you're sticking to a year, 5 years, 10 years, the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You need something that is going to be adherable to you. And if you're not enjoying it and it seems daunting and tedious, if we're going to be some of that where you need to just push through the daunting things because that's what it takes to be the best. But to achieve regular fitness goals and make yourself better and healthier or stronger, it doesn't need to be that way. You can pick things that you enjoy, like you could go online and look up workouts and just find things that you're like, I like this. When I do this, I feel good. I feel stronger. When I do this, I like it. And that's all that matters. It doesn't need to be so methodical and thought out.
Right.
Just do things that make you feel good. Just move. Just do things that make you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. To speak about one of the greatest podcasters right now, Andrew Huberman, he's got these 6 pillars of health. Sleep, I believe there's movement, there's your social circle, there's light. Sunlight. What are the other 2? I have them written down here.
I was just listening.
And you were listening to them too, right?
A day or two ago.
Yeah.
I've heard this a long time ago.
Stress control and your quality nutrition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's touch on a couple of these.
Sure.
So what are your takes on the sunlight?
It's crazy because this is one that in my life I completely took for granted. Like I would get up.
Because it's new. It's a newer
thing.
Sense.
Yeah.
The circadian rhythm.
100%.
The early morning, you want to get that sun in.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
No,
but knowing that there's actual responses, biological responses that your body has to light.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge impact on your mental.
No, people get up and they go to the bathroom, keep the lights off. They brush their teeth with the lights off. They go out into their dark kitchen. Like now when I get up, I go in there, I turn the lights all on. Like get it in there, like get the light, go out into my living room, try and get out in sunlight, get the blinds open, turn the lights on, get yourself energized and immersed in that light as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And what that does for your just like energy and sense of well-being in the day is actually pretty remarkable. Melissa is huge. My wife is huge on that. Like first thing when she gets up, she wants to get into the bathroom. She closes the door and she opens the blinds and like brushes her teeth with like daylight on.
Wants to get that daylight.
She wants to get it as soon as possible, get the daylight in there, get in front of that sun as soon as she possibly can. And I know for her, it's made like in terms of her productivity in the morning, it's gone up a lot. So, something that I wish I had done better in my career of bodybuilding. And like I said, when there was times where my sleep schedule was crazy and all these things, but now that I've started to incorporate in the last, while I was still bodybuilding, but as in my older, years of bodybuilding now into my fair life, it's something that obviously people really, if they haven't done, they need to start doing. Just getting some kind of light in you as soon as you can when you wake up, not just like living in darkness for an hour, waking up and laying in bed in the dark and checking your phone.
Yeah. And the adverse is really bad for you as well.
Yeah.
Late night, light.
Yeah.
Too much light exposure late at night.
Yeah.
From what I was hearing, has a huge effect on your
the blue light
and your depression and self-harm. I believe went through the roof on people.
Sure.
I don't think it had a huge
staying up
effect
late
on anxiety, but
and playing video.
it was like a depressive thing. But depressive states are way worse if you have a lot of light. And you know what? That is tough because everybody's so addicted to their phone.
Yeah.
Everybody's so addicted to their Xbox or your Netflix or your this or your that. And like, how many nights can you remember 11 o'clock at night and you're watching a movie still?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One thing that I did is, and at least it's a positive step for people like, look, I'm not going to cut out my TV or my phone at night, whatever, is at least the bare minimum you can do is use the night mode on.
Yeah.
So that it goes to like the kind of amber color. You can do it on your TV. You can do it on your computer. You can definitely do it on your phone.
Yeah.
And you can set all of them on schedules.
Right.
So what I have my devices now is that once it becomes 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you turn on any of the things, or you're watching in the middle of a movie at 7 o'clock, 8, the screen will go to that color. And it's definitely made a big difference in my ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. The quality of sleep that I'm getting and like, how refreshed I feel when I get up, with not having so much blue light coming in. So even if you're not like, I like watching my TV before bed. Okay, that's fine. There is more positive things. If you want to read or something, there is better options.
Right.
But let's still stay in the realm of just
Candlelight.
Yeah, let's stay in the realm of achievability on the quick. What you can do is just use those night modes. They're there for a reason.
Because it doubles back to it's not adherable.
Yeah,
it's not something that
or even just get, which I used for a long time, is like the blue light glasses. You get those glasses. If you don't have the modes on your TV or on your computer, just get the glasses, slap them on once it gets within 3-4 hours of bed. Slap them on when you're watching your computer or TV or using your phone. Put a pair of those on, and it'll make a big difference. Yeah.
Your sleep. How do you find your sleep has changed since quitting bodybuilding? Because I remember we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Some days you were eating at 2 a.m.
Later than that, some days. Yeah.
And that's wild to me.
Yeah.
No, were you not adhering to a strict sleep schedule when you were?
Well, I was, but my schedule was very different because of the amount of food I was eating and the times I was training. So it all kind of got shifted into this late thing, especially in the off seasons when you're eating crazy amounts of food. It's like it would all kind of get shifted slowly later and later and later. Which was not. I completely saw my energy and my quality of life and my quality of productivity definitely decline the later I was staying up. So. But in terms of my sleep, I mean, for one, getting to a more normal, more healthy body weight in terms of your ability to sleep is completely different,
Massive.
Like, look, I'm still heavier than the average person. I'm still 245 pounds. But
my brother called it perfectly.
But when I was competing and I was never less than 275, 90% of the year, sometimes I was 305, 300 pounds, I'm only 5'10". I'm not like 6'5", So, it's
pretty out.
It's a lot, and look, I thought I was sleeping good, and I took pride in that.
Man, did you ever have to wear the machine?
I didn't. I probably should have got one, but I felt like I was sleeping well. I would wake up. I thought I was feeling refreshed. I kind of slept through the night. At least I thought I did. And it was one of those things that really, honestly, I got the slap in the face of like, holy cow, I was not sleeping well for a long time until I got the weight off.
Right.
And, when I got my routine better in check with my eating, And I didn't have the stress of eating so much because of being a pro bodybuilder, you know?
Yeah.
Once I kind of got so I could, eat a little farther, because what it was is I'd be eating huge meals, I'd be going right to bed. It was affecting my quality of sleep.
Yeah.
And obviously just that
Digesting that amount of food. I mean, you were telling me some of your meals, most of your meals were what, 300 grams of rice?
Oh, bigger than that. Yeah, they'd be 500 grams plus. I mean, they were massive meals,
7-8 meals a day.
Yeah, like having that last meal a little later, earlier before bed, I found has made a big difference. And then just getting my body weight down. I think there's so many people that, because of their level of obesity, of course, because of bad nutrition habits or bad other habits like smoking or smoke before bed, nicotine, things like this, or even marijuana, man. I mean, like how many people we know that they smoke weed to help them sleep?
Yeah,
we all know that's not actually helping you sleep. Yeah. It might help you fall asleep, but your quality of sleep is out the window.
Garbage.
Yeah. And I mean, I was using it for a long time in bodybuilding to help me sleep and help me get my food in. Yeah, but it wasn't until
the same thing as I said quite often for booze, and I know a lot of people go, I like to have a couple of drinks, helps me fall asleep.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of research out there now that even one drink
can completely affect your
your
REM sleep and your deep cycle sleep. Like you can fall asleep faster, but the quality of sleep after that is completely diminished. Same with marijuana.
And keeping on this tone of mental health, especially for men and for women, I want to touch on all the different aspects that come with mental health and come with fitness. And I think sleep is massively overlooked.
Massive.
One of the things that I learned recently was that if you look at the sleep patterns of, 99% of individuals who commit suicide,
they're all over the place.
2 weeks prior, all over the place.
100%.
No sleep, too much sleep, little sleep. So that's something that I think people really need to pay attention to in themselves, and also see in other people that they're around and care about. If you suspect someone is having a hard time or is going through something and you see their sleep patterns being all over the place, that's usually a tall tale.
It definitely is, And I mean, and I'm sure we can both correlate it, like we were talking earlier. When we were at our lowest, where was our sleep? All over the fucking place.
Terrible.
You're going to bed late, you're sleeping in the day, you're sleeping in late. There's no consistency. Like you'd be going to bed at 11 p.m. one day, 4 a.m. the next
Discipline
day.
Through routine, brother.
It's all routine. Like
so important.
And setting a strict bedtime. And this is honestly one thing I'll give my wife massive kudos for, that I've been with her for 12, 13 years now.
Congrats.
And she has never swayed from this. And apparently her parents saying that she was like this even when she was a small child, which is remarkable, is when her bedtime, what she felt was her bedtime, whether that's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter if she's in the middle of a movie. Doesn't matter if she feels like she has energy. Okay, it's time for me to go to bed.
Right.
And like she goes to bed.
Strict with it.
She's strict with it because she knows what it's doing for her quality of life.
Right.
And she knows when she doesn't get it, she knows where she suffers on the back end. So she set like hard rules of discipline with that. And like, I'll be honest, she goes to bed now, like she's in bed by 8:30, 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But like, that's what she likes and what makes her feel good.
Absolutely.
And she's very
Is she an early riser too?
Yeah, she is. She's like a 5, 6 a.m. riser.
Yeah.
So she likes to get like a good, nice, like 8, 9 hours, and she knows that makes her feel great. So she doesn't, I don't want to stay up an extra 2 hours
overlooked one day. It's definitely overlooked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I keep saying a lot of men, and I think women as well, but they don't prioritize it for one. And also they have this idea that 6 hours is good.
No.
5 hours is
no.
I can operate on 5 hours. I've been getting 5 hours for 20 years.
It is funny. You'll see people be like, oh no, I only need 5, 6 hours of sleep, like you were saying. There's absolutely no science to say that anyone is good off that little sleep over a long period. Like there's literal 100% concrete scientific evidence that there's minimum amounts of sleep we need to be optimized for health. And this does not vary person to person. There's not people that are like magically 4 hours just because they'd be 100% healthy, or people that need 10 hours. We require a certain amount of sleep, and it's a lot of it's circadian rhythms based on days of light and stuff like that. But that we need to be at 100% optimized health, But she, like I was saying, her parents even said when she would be 8, 9, 10 years old, they'd all be sitting on a couch, even on a Friday night watching a movie. 8 o'clock would come. Okay, I'm going to bed. Yeah. They'd be like, what? Like a little kid putting herself to bed, at a small age. We're all at that age. We're like, I want to stay up, watch movies.
Yeah.
My dad,
for sure.
I want to play video games all night, whatever it was, you would be forced to go to bed. She's always had that crazy discipline with going to bed. Like she just loves getting in there, and it's part of her routine. And she's like kept that her entire life. It's very admirable. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I adopted this 4 a.m. routine after following Jocko.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, if I go to bed past 9:30,
Yeah.
that 4 a.m.
It's tough.
hard.
Yeah.
Borderline impossible.
Yep.
And it's a routine that I'm getting used to. I've been doing it now for about a month and a bit. But man, let me tell you, if I'm not putting myself to bed by 9:30, the absolute latest,
Yeah.
that 4 a.m. wake up call
Comes quick.
It comes quick, it comes hard, and maybe I'll miss it.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want from myself.
Yeah.
I want that 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I want that wake up. I want that 100. That's all part of like my inner routine on what I want for myself.
Yeah.
Is I want that because I want to be able to say that I'm that warrior. That guy.
And you're holding yourself accountable to it.
I'm holding myself.
I know I need to go to bed at this time to feel good at this time. So when that time comes, it would be easy to be like, I'll be okay tomorrow if I get a couple, that's compounds. The next day, then you're tired, you're catching up on sleep, and then you throw yourself out of that. If you keep yourself in that routine and just be accountable and disciplined with that, it's a whole different thing. It's kind of a tangent, but not really. It kind of connects with that. One of the biggest things I hear in the fitness world too is people like ask me about like motivation. Right now, like how do you stay motivated? And I think one thing people need to really get in their heads is there's a humongous difference between being motivated, which is like an acute feeling that like comes and goes like the wind. It's like you watch a good video on YouTube, you're motivated. But the difference between motivation and discipline is a big thing. Like
Right.
whether you want to do it or not, discipline does it, Like you don't want to get up at 4 a.m. every day, but you've set yourself this goal of, I want to do this for other things, for reasons to better myself.
Yeah.
So you hold yourself accountable to it.
Yeah.
It would be easy just not to do it,
Yeah.
So I think that's a big
And I'm definitely not motivated.
Well, exactly. No one is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I trained for 15 years. You think I wanted to go to the gym every time? I did it because I set that as a disciplined goal within myself.
Exactly.
And
And that's what society is lacking.
yes. So I think people
Society is lacking.
People need to stop looking, especially people with any goals in their life, for like this magic. One day I'm going to be motivated for it and I'm going to like get after it, because it's never going to happen.
No.
And if it does, it might be one
And
day.
that magic time to get started.
Is never.
Everyone always goes,
Oh,
I'll do it. New year, new me.
Yeah.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
That never comes. There's never a perfect time to start something except for
When you said it. Yeah.
Oh.
So, I think that's a big thing too, is people are looking for this like magic, motivation that's going to like get them fired up. And it's going to, how do you stay so motivated to train? And the reality is you just don't,
right.
You need to be disciplined.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing is,
Some days I'm on my way to the gym yawning. Just
the
I
thing
don't
is it
care.
gets easier because the more consistent you are with it,
Yeah.
the more you want to continue those patterns.
Yeah.
If you're like dedicated, like I've done this 30 days in a row, I can't fuck it up now.
Yeah.
I want to do it 60. I want to do it 90. I want to do it 2 years. I'm going to do it 10 years. And look, that was something in my bodybuilding career I took.
And the progress and the results.
Yeah. But it was something in my bodybuilding career I took immense pride in, was my discipline especially with nutrition. Like I don't think I missed more than 2 meals in 15 years. Like if I had 6 meals to eat that day, I did it every single day. I hated eating.
You must have the strongest jaw on there.
There's nothing I hated more than like force feeding food all year round. And I was never motivated to do it, but I set it as a goal and I created that discipline. But then the longer I did it, the more I was like, I haven't messed it up in so long, I'm not going to do it now,
Yeah.
And I kept that going based off of just nothing but discipline. There's no motivation.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my diet that I've been doing now. I've basically been doing a restrictive keto diet.
Sure.
Basically a carnivore diet. So I only eat steak and eggs.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of ridicule.
Yeah.
People.
Sure.
Oh, buddy. Yeah. I have people, your glycogen in your liver is depleted, and why are you not doing refeeding days and fucking this, that, and the other thing? And I'm like, listen,
There's no right way to die.
I don't know if it's gonna work for other people, but I know that for me, there's something magic in that combo, man.
Yeah.
There's something magic in steak and eggs specifically that I have lost a tremendous amount of weight. I've lost a bunch of fat. It just melted off my body.
Yep.
I have sustained energy throughout the day.
Yeah. Well, because you're not blood sugar all over the place, Yeah.
My satiety is I'm high. I'm not snacky. I don't care to eat. I'm not controlled by those hunger emotions. I used to get incredible heartburn that I had to take pills for all the time. Gone.
Yeah.
I used to get heart palpitations that I used to have it all the time. Gone.
Yeah.
And I just have fallen in love with it. And, I keep getting people like, oh, you worried about scurvy, or you worried about this and that? And I'm like,
No.
I don't know, not really. I mean, maybe, but
This is all going back to what we were talking about with what I was saying with the training of something that is adherable, Like, look, someone else maybe carnivore's not, or some other type is. And like I'm saying, just like with training, there's no necessities.
Yeah.
There's no exercises you have to do or types of diet you have to do.
Yeah.
But this is something that you found makes you feel good.
Yes.
And that you can adhere to and you enjoy.
Yes.
And I think that's what people need to find.
Absolutely.
They don't need, and it's just like I was saying with training, it applies to nutrition. People find these diets and they're so complicated and they're hard foods to eat and foods they don't enjoy. And no wonder you're not sticking to it.
Simplify it.
It's hard to stick to eating food you don't want to eat every day, all day, but that is not a necessity at all.
Yeah.
You can make your diet completely enjoyable to you, pick foods that you like, and you can still make tremendous progress just like you've done, and whatever, whether that's doing a keto or a carnivore or still having carbs in, doing carb backloading, doing intermittent fasting. There's a million ways to skin
There's so many different.
There's a million ways. And
It's very subjective.
well, there's no right way because I can, like I said, I know a bajillion different bodybuilders and
they all get nutrition.
They can all get in contest shape of 2, 3, 4% body fat, whatever it is. And we could all be dieting in completely different ways. Same in the off season. We all be growing crazy amounts of muscle. Not everyone's doing things the same way.
However, though, vegetarian.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. We might have a discussion for that.
There might be a bit of a discussion there.
If you want to be a
can you be a pro bodybuilder and eat only cucumbers?
No. I'm sorry. There's going to be someone out there that's going to be like,
Oh man,
I know a pro bodybuilder.
documentary and all about the vegetarian or vegan and you can do.
I think that there's certain.
I question it.
Do I think there's certain ailments that people might have where having a vegan or vegetarian diet might be a good option? Yes. Unless you fall into that very specific category, I don't think that they're generally the best case.
Right.
Look, if you're suffering from certain inflammatory things or whatever it is, you're having certain stomach issues or you have autoimmune or certain types, do I think that maybe in certain cases eliminating certain types of animal proteins or meats or whatever could be a good option? Yes. Obviously, there's debate if you want to do it for ethical reasons. Okay, I can't tell you what to believe. Do whatever you want. But then on the back,
we're getting into the
But then on the back end,
we're in the weeds.
Don't complain about it being optimal for your fitness goals or not. Right, you're making an ethical decision, not a performance based decision.
Exactly.
So no, look, could you get a very good physique being a vegetarian or vegan? Sure. Is it going to be a lot easier and probably overall healthier for you to have some kind of animal-based protein source in there? Absolutely. Yeah. Do you need to be eating red meat every day? Do you need to be eating chicken every day? There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing you need to be doing any day. Right. If you like eating just eggs or egg whites, or you want to eat chicken or turkey or beef or fish, great. Do whatever you like. Have a combination of all of them, or just have one of them that you like specifically. So there's no 100% concrete answer,
Yeah, absolutely. To me, dieting and nutrition, there is a massive amount of information out there and a massive amount of information bias where you can literally find valid information for anything.
100%.
And a lot of it comes down to subjectivity and what you feel good in doing.
Yep.
And I'm totally in the same boat as you. I don't think you can get optimal health from just eating lettuce.
No.
I don't think you can.
And I'll get questions from young guys too all the time being like, such specific questions asking about bodybuilding nutrition to be like, should I be doing a carb cycle or should I be doing this or should I be doing this? I'm like, you can do any of them. Any of them are going to work. You can eat the same amount of carbs every day. You can eat some carbs around training. You can eat, and do carb loading. You could do carb backloading. You could do, higher carbs on the days you train and days you don't. I'm like, they're all going to work, but what are you going to adhere to the best? Like we were saying, what are you going to enjoy? Because there's a million ways to do these things,
Yeah.
So
I think when it comes down to nutrition, what I think we can all agree on is just cut out the garbage.
Yeah.
Cut out the processed food. Don't go to
no benefit.
Don't go to McDonald's.
No.
Don't go to these fast food chains.
No.
Don't be eating burgers and tacos and
tacos are good.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm getting at. I mean, the processed foods, if everyone were to very simply, let's talk about the average guy who wants to try and tackle his diet.
Just
Start diet.
Keep the same things in, but start eliminating the processed foods.
Start eliminating the processed foods one by one, achievable daily goals. Eliminate the sodas, right? Eliminate the diet stuff.
Yeah.
Because all the stuff that says diet,
A lot of it,
is horrible.
Yeah, in many cases, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's, people excuse this a lot because of a convenience factor,
Right.
which I think is not necessarily the truth when you really look at it as a whole. I think, if you spend an hour twice a week to do meal prep or have food ready, it's not that big of a deal. You can prepare very good food. Or they'll say the cost side of it, that eating healthy is expensive, which is completely untrue.
Yeah.
Like you could eat super healthy for like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, if you just want to get some basic veggies, some, you know, jasmine rice or some potatoes and a meat source or eggs,
Jasmine's my favorite.
you could eat for a month for like nothing compared to what it's costing you to get prepared food or
Oh yeah, go to dinner once a week.
yeah,
And
or even just go to the grocery store and get a pre-made meal. You know, where you're going to spend $8-9 on a meal, you could make 4 meals for that cost.
Yeah,
Doing it.
no, but what I'm referring to, that one meal at the going out and eating that one meal, that's your groceries for the week.
Yes,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? For most
Yeah.
cases.
So, you know, I think they're, you know, people looking as a convenience factor, but it's all you're doing is isolating it into one short time versus one long time, then none the rest of the week. You know, if you spend an hour on Sunday or an hour on, 30 minutes on Sunday and Wednesday preparing your food for the week, you know, or you spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes in the drive-through every day, like you're kind of at the same thing at the end of the week, you know?
Right.
So I think it's people just don't want to put in, they make all these excuses like we were talking about before about people not taking accountability of why are you really not doing this? Are you doing it because you don't actually want to do it, or you're making excuses for it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing with nutrition as well, right?
Yeah, nutrition is that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
And I definitely get a lot of pretty funny comments when it comes down to my diet specifically.
Yeah.
But I don't like to look at it as like a diet. I don't like to say I'm on a diet.
just what you're eating.
Just how I eat.
It's just how you eat.
How I eat, and I enjoy it. And people think it's kind of crazy. But when I think about it, like my mouth starts watering. I start thinking about that steak. I'm like, oh, because I only eat one meal a day.
Yeah.
Like I'll sit down and I'll have 8 to 10 eggs and I'll have 0.7 kg of steak.
Yeah.
And that's my one big meal. Boom, I'll get it in one shot and I'm full. And I'm good till the next day, till my one big meal.
Yeah.
And it works for me. I'm a simple guy. I like routine.
Yeah.
And
you also have found what makes you excited for your nutrition, what you find sustainable for you.
Yeah.
And then what is also on the other side, rendering progress towards your fitness goals. You know?
absolutely.
You know, and also,
I've never been in better shape.
and also what you're finding is making you feel mentally, mental acuity, and things like that. Like whatever people need to find, I think people need to try a million different things. I don't think they need to just read one guy said this is the right diet, or some doctor said that you should do, intermittent fasting, and then this is the best. There is no best.
Yeah.
I can tell you 100% unequivocally, there's absolutely no best way to do any of these things. You need to do what is the most adherable for you and what you're going to be able to sustain to get your goals,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we can pivot a little bit,
Sure.
I want to stay on the topic of finding ways for the average person to handle and deal with mental health issues. Let's talk about stress relief.
Sure.
Other than the gym, what ways have you found to be incredibly useful when it comes down to relieving stress?
Yeah. And it's a good question. I mean, these are hard things to find in life, I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with these things. I think one, finding, some kind of good hobby, like something that makes you feel productive about it, whether it's learning a new hobby, or reading a book or whatever it is, something that's you're putting your energy into that feels productive, I think is always going to go a long way, and I think one thing and my wife does a lot of it, I should do more of it, is honestly just meditation, man. Like my wife will sit there and do like breath work and like sit in her thoughts and like let herself feel it, and I know that can do a ton for just really working through those things, It takes some time just to
And there's so many
focusing on your breathings, and you can find such cool stuff on YouTube and stuff about that.
Yeah.
And I think those things can be very valuable, and then like we talked about, training, getting your nutrition, finding a good hobby, and honestly with it's a taboo thing we talked about at the beginning, but I think for anyone, whether you're having like actual serious issues or not, I think honestly talk therapy can be valuable for everyone.
Absolutely.
Whether it's counseling, in any regard, I've done plenty of it in my life. I wish I did more of it when I was younger.
That's one of the services I'm going to be providing. Is going to be some counseling services, some mindset calls.
Yeah, but I think for people, like we were discussing earlier, that I think to really learn yourself and to have like you grew the accountability, sometimes it takes someone else to really get you to understand where these things are rooting from. Absolutely. It sometimes can be hard when you're living in your own self to realize why you do certain things, and to have someone ask the right questions and point you in the right direction, someone that's, knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think can be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to be on the brink of having suicidal thoughts to get into therapy. I think you could be someone that is 100% feeling great mentally, or you could be someone that's not. It really doesn't matter. I think there's benefits for everybody in that. Just to have someone to talk about these things with. And then I think a big thing too, and like you mentioned earlier, is laying out time like for your friends and your family and community. You know, I think like having those social connections with people. Like,
don't isolate yourself.
People will say like, oh, I'm an introvert, extrovert. Yeah, I think there is different spectrums to this, but there's no one that is going to feel better completely isolating themselves.
No.
You know, having this, we're
social beings.
We're social,
whether you like it or not.
Grew up like we, you know, developed, you know, historically in communities, and we relied on each other. And I think it's a very powerful feeling to know that, you know, people can depend on you and rely on you, and that you can depend and rely on other people. And there's, you know, people that can be a safe space and a trusting space for you to talk about things with. You know, I think that can be a very, very valuable tool. So, you know, having those outlets or creating those outlets and putting time, you know, whether it's, you know, 20 minutes to sit down with your wife or your partner or your kids and just like talk about your day, talk about your goals, talk about whatever it is. You know, I think just those things, to like speak them out loud with someone that you trust and care about, can be very valuable.
Yeah, talking with loved ones, talking with friends.
Yeah.
And I think talking with someone who you briefly touched on with the therapy, talking to someone who is removed from your life can be great. Having somebody who is not biased, who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your story specifically, who's not going to lean into your insecurities, or is not going to, you know,
Can challenge you.
And can challenge you and say, listen, have you thought about it this way, or have you thought about it that way? And what's really going on? Like, for example, I had a guy come up to me just yesterday at the gym in the change room.
Sure.
And we started chatting, and he goes, you know, do you mind if I open up to you? And I said, fuck, buddy,
go for it. Yeah.
That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Said, let's go. So he started talking to me about how he has found himself in his sister's basement, and life has just been incredibly hard, and he doesn't have the proper support system within his family to, you know, get out of this depressive rut.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what, man, like, I'm here if you want to talk to me whenever. He started following me. He messages me all the time, like messages me quite often in the past 24 hours. He's been liking everything.
Yeah.
He's getting very involved in my socials, just because I put out that hand, that
it go a long way on it. Yeah.
And I think, and what I told him, and he was incredibly thankful for it, was like, sometimes you need to talk to people that don't know you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to just have a discussion with somebody and be able to openly and freely talk about what's bothering you.
Yeah.
Without there being any sort of preconceived notions about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because we all have family that you're going to try and turn to, and maybe they're not that supportive.
No.
You know what I mean? Or maybe they just don't understand.
Or maybe you, like you're saying with accountability, it could be the complete opposite of where you're saying things and they're just victimizing you.
Right.
They're just saying, you know what, you're right. You shouldn't be, they're doing it all wrong for you. You're doing everything perfect. And then you stay in that rut. You know, sometimes you need someone to hold you accountable.
Yes.
You know, like this guy could have talked to you and he could have said all these things. You'd be like, yeah, man, I feel for you, blah, blah, blah. But you also need to take some accountability for some things here. You know, where do you think, you know, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So I think it's on both sides, you know, someone that can point you in the right direction to holding accountability, and also someone that can kind of listen to you freely and unbiasedly, you know.
But here's the problem. We're men.
Yeah.
And historically, there's a stigma there. Keep it in.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to eliminate. I'm trying to create a community for men to be able to address these issues and still feel like a savage.
Yeah.
Still feel like a beast.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Still be looked at as a tough guy.
Yeah.
Not be looked at as a wimp or,
I'm sure,
you know, whatever, because you have emotional feelings. We all have emotional feelings. We all have emotional needs and wants and things that if we let rot and push them down, we will implode.
And they'll weaken us. They'll make and it will make you less warm as a man, not the other way around. I think
and so that stigma, how do we lift that stigma?
And that's having these
through conversations like that.
Exactly. You know, I think that's the thing is, you know, people where they can see that there's people at all walks of life, whether it's you coming from, you know, divorce and having children to change your life, that, or me being at the top levels of sports and still struggling with these things. And look, I can tell you, I've seen guys in every level, whether it's guys that are fighting in the UFC or playing professional football or other pro bodybuilders, they're no different. It's not like because you see someone that they're like making $1 million that like mentally inside, they're like killing it different.
Yeah.
You know, people feel the same things. They're still doing, you know, having these things where they don't have people they can talk to and rely on. And they still have insecurities. They still have, you know, issues with their spouse or with their, you know, financial things, whatever it is. We're all coming from different angles with it, but it all can come down to the root cause of, you know, one, I mean, understanding yourself and why you react and why you have with certain things you are in certain ways.
Introspective,
right?
Looking inward.
So, you know, I think people understand to have these conversations and to people to see that, you know, there's still strength in talking about these things, you know, and being open with these things, and connecting on these kind of things, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Good.
That might be great, man.
I mean, we're almost at 2 hours there. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Beauty.
I thought that was good.
Cool.
Man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate
Next room, we're good.
So thank you very much for watching and coming and joining us at the Happy, Healthy, Wealthy podcast. Today was our first episode. It couldn't have gone any better. It's
great.
Thank you so much, Ian.
No, I
really appreciate it. Cafe Cristal here in Barhaven. If you guys are ever in the area and you want to grab yourself a nice cappuccino and sit down under this beautiful decor and relax, please, by all means, come in here. Tell them Nick sent you. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Beauty. Awesome, dude. That was good.
That was really good.
Yeah.